So apparently somebody got shot somewhere, whatever, triangle thing, right?
Yep.
She was entangled in a love triangle. The only clue the detectives had was a boot print in the snow.
Was that they were the boots that matched the prints.
Oh, okay.
That were going away from the apartment.
37 years later, Cold Case Unit finally point to someone no one suspected. The detectives uncover a trail of lies. They discover hidden guns, and they revisit the forgotten witnesses.
Where did you remember seeing her walk?
In my mind, I see her there.
There, meaning in the parking lot.
Yeah.
So not on the
Along
sidewalk,
that edge.
along that edge?
Kind of like where that no parking sign is.
Who killed Ivonne Mankey? Why did it take nearly 40 years to catch the killer? It was January 26, 2023, when two detectives knocked on the door of an 81-year-old grandma.
Hey, Mary Joe.
Good morning.
Thank you.
Thanks. How was your day trip yesterday?
Oh, it was fine.
Good.
Sorry, we are running late.
Yeah. Yep,
It's my fault. Not these guys. They were on time.
Okay, have a seat. I moved the cat.
Oh, okay.
Is the sun? I don't think it's
No, I'm good. Thank you. Appreciate it.
The detectives had flown over 1,600 miles from Wisconsin to Arizona just to see Mary Joe. They are part of the Wisconsin Cold Case Unit, and they'd been revisiting an old file, one that had been collecting dust since December 12, 1985.
We no offense to Arizona, and no offense to Steve, he's been great to work with, but we don't, if at all possible, want to come back to Arizona if we don't have to. So thank you for taking the time to be available and just kind of let us check the box and then we'll move on to other stuff, okay?
They were there to talk about a woman named Ivonne Mankey. She was 45 years old in 1985 when she died that winter in Wisconsin at 21 South Washington Street. On the morning of December 12th, Ivonne woke up early for work. She had just started a job at Centuria Laundry. She lived with her 20-year-old daughter, Julie. During the cold months, Ivonne made it a habit to go downstairs first to warm up the car before heading out to work. Around 6:20 a.m., Ivonne did just that. She told her daughter, Julie, she'd be back in a minute. Julie was busy getting ready for her day. It was their normal morning routine. But then, she heard a loud sound. Then, after a short pause, two more loud bangs. Julie didn't feel right. She grabbed the phone and called her sister Sue, who lived just a block away. Julie told her it was gunfire and asked her to send her husband to check. Sue went to wake him up, but when she returned to the phone, Julie had already hung up. Something didn't sit right with Julie. She peered out the window but saw nothing unusual. Then she moved to another window overlooking the back alley where the cars were parked. Yvonne's car wasn't running, and Ivonne hasn't returned. Then she noticed someone, a complete stranger, walking away from the parking area. That alley was private property. No one but Ivonne or Julie should have been there. Julie grabbed the phone and called Sue. Sue told her to hang up and call the police immediately. Within minutes, officers were on their way to the small apartment building. When police arrived, they went straight down the stairwell. There, on the snowy ground of the stairway, they found Ivonne. She was lying face down. Her arms almost covered her head, as if she'd tried to shield herself. Ivonne Mankey had been shot. The killer was never caught. It's been 37 years.
We want closure. That's what we want, right? The Mankey family wants closure. We talked to the Mankey family. The district attorney wants closure. Everybody wants closure. It's 37 years, right? That's a lot of time.
Her name was Yvonne Carol Owen Mankey, born on February 15th, 1940, in St. Croix Falls, Wisconsin. Her life was full of happiness, but she had had a fair share of losses. She met James Mankey, and the two fell in love. They built a life together, raising 4 children. But over time, things between them began to break apart, and they decided to separate. After that, she moved into an apartment with her daughter Julie at 121 South Washington Street, the same place where she'd live for the next 5 years, the same place where she was murdered. Ivonne worked hard. She had to. There were bills to pay and a daughter depending on her. Around that same year, she met a man named Jack Owen, a charming man and renowned horse trainer. Ivonne and Jack started dating, but it was an on and off thing for years. Not because of Ivonne. She wanted to settle down, but Jack never seemed to know what he wanted. What she didn't know was that Jack had been seeing someone else too, another woman from the same small world of horse shows. Her name was Mary Joe Lunsman, the same Mary Joe who, decades later, now 80 years old, was sitting in Arizona waiting for 2 detectives from Wisconsin to ask her about Jack Owen.
I'm wondering if you can talk to me a little bit about Jack's family, and more specifically, back in like 85, the dynamics of
I knew his mom and dad, the sisters weren't around.
Okay.
His mom and dad were both alive at that time, and well, he had been out of work for a long time. He worked at Champion Aircraft, and when they left, he never found another job. I think that was some of his mental issues, and he stayed on the farm, and he thought he was going to inherit the farm. That's what he kind of thought, from what I understood.
Okay.
And then his mom passed away, and no, his dad passed away first. Then his mom, because this was over many years, but and then he found out he wasn't getting the whole farm.
Okay.
And then that's when he married this gal. She had money and whatnot, and went to where the son lives in Montana, Eureka, Montana.
Sure. So now you're the gal, that's Linda, right?
Yeah, the one he's married to. Yeah, or he passed away, I guess, a couple of years ago now.
Yeah,
Something like that. Somebody said.
Okay.
And for the detectives, that was the problem. Jack's story ended years ago, but Yvonne's still hadn't. Back in 1985, Julie was the only witness. She was the first one police talked to, and she told them about the stranger she'd seen walking away. She said the person wore a long gray coat, a scarf, and a stocking cap. She saw the person move through the alley, walking away from the house, first walking, then jogging, occasionally glancing back. From the way they moved, Julie guessed they were around 5'9", broad-shouldered, but not a big person. It wasn't much to go on, but it was all the police had.
And I don't read into this, but our job is to go through the reports and to clarify what some of these investigators meant back then, because some of them aren't around anymore, right?
Yeah.
So we're reading reports that are 30-some years old.
When police first asked Julie why anyone would hurt her mother, she didn't know. But she did remember something odd that happened a day or two before the murder. One morning around 6:50 a.m., the phone rang. Julie picked it up. It was a woman asking for Ivonne, but Ivonne had already left for work. The woman then asked when Ivonne usually left, and Julie, thinking nothing of it, said sometime around 6:40 or 6:45. The woman thanked her and hung up, saying she'd call again later that night. Julie never heard from her again. At the time, it felt harmless. After the murder, it was very suspicious. Now, when the detectives looked through the old file, they noticed something else. Mary Joe's name appeared in the call logs, not once, but 3 separate times in 1985. Each call lasted less than a minute. That's what brought them to her doorstep after all these years. They wanted to know why Mary Joe called Ivonne. Mary Joe had been interviewed before, back in 1985. She'd told police she met Jack through his horse training business. Horses were her life, and that's how their paths crossed. She also told investigators that her relationship with Jack had ended years before the murder. By then, she said, it was only professional, nothing more. Jack, for her, was too unpredictable. She said she knew who Ivonne was, but never met her in person. But she did admit there was one phone call years earlier, sometime around 1983. She said she had reached out to Ivonne to talk about Jack. Both women had been confused about where they stood with him. According to Mary Joe, that conversation was civil, even friendly. She said she'd never had any hard feelings toward Ivonne. At least, that's what she claimed.
And then yesterday you mentioned that there was a phone call with Ivonne, or you made to Ivonne, where you're looking for Jack.
Yeah, that was the night I was supposed to be out there to ride, and he wasn't there.
Okay. Do you remember if you actually talked to Ivonne, or if that was a...
No, I think I just asked for him.
Okay, so someone did answer the phone.
Yeah, I think it would have been her problem. I mean, I
Okay.
assume. I don't know if some kids were living with her at that time. She
Okay,
had children, I think, and
yeah,
so I don't know if they were there or not.
okay. And do you remember, was it a long conversation or was
No,
it?
he said it was raining at his place, so that's why he left. And I said, well, it wasn't raining at my house, so I came out to ride like I was supposed to. And I said, well, that's okay, then we'll have to
Sure.
reset it.
Okay.
The call was short, just a few words exchanged before she hung up. From the start, detectives focused on two names, Jack Owens and Mary Joe. They picked apart both of their alibis, looking for cracks. Jack's story held up, but Mary Joe's didn't. On the morning of December 12, 1985, the day Ivonne was killed, Mary Joe said she woke up around 7. She'd taken the day off to finish her Christmas shopping. She told police she stayed home for a bit, handled a few chores, and then went to town after 9 to run some errands. That was her story, and it never changed. Jack, on the other hand, started seeing someone new right after Yvonne's death.
After Ivonne gets killed, you mentioned yesterday that Jack was dating some gal. Or maybe not dating.
Well, it
strong
was,
word.
yeah, it was a while after. I mean, It
Okay.
wasn't that I remember. It was the next summer that I saw this one girl.
Okay,
And I don't know, because I think his dad said something about it, that she was over in Minnesota, but I did see her one time. Tall, thin, dark-haired. I have no idea.
The main reason why the investigators back in 1985 were after Jack was because of Becky, Yvonne's daughter. She told investigators her mother's murder had something to do with Jack Owen. She described him as a man who couldn't keep his eyes or his hands to himself. Their relationship had always been rocky. Every time Ivonne tried to move on, Jack would reel her back in. But what really tore things apart was his ongoing relationship with Mary Joe. But Mary and Jack always denied it. Even today, see how she deflects when the same question comes up.
after Ivonne dies, you and Jack continue your business relationship, but it's not physical.
Not till next summer, when we actually started showing horses again.
Okay.
Oh, we still belong to some of the clubs.
After the murder, police tracked Jack down. He told them he'd gotten up early that morning to do chores, then took a short nap before heading to the bank around 8. That's where he heard the news. Jack said he'd seen Ivonne just the night before at his birthday party. She'd left sometime after 10, and he'd called her when she got home to make sure she was safe. When asked about Mary Joe, Jack didn't hide that they'd once been romantically involved, but he said that was years ago. Lately, it was all business, horse shows and competitions. Friends, family, and people from the horse community said Jack, Ivonne, and Mary Joe had been tangled in a love triangle for years. And that's how the whispers began. By the time Ivonne was buried, many already had their own theory about who pulled the trigger. Most fingers pointed toward Mary Joe. They believed Mary Joe was furious because Jack didn't invite her to his birthday party.
You guys weren't romantically involved?
No.
Okay.
We're still friends and
Yeah.
whatnot, and
Yeah.
yeah, because I think he used to do some shoeing for me, if I remember back there at one time.
Mm-hmm.
And then still, I just keep looking at that horse because I was thinking that was the one I was riding at the time.
But detectives weren't convinced. They already had statements from people close to her, men who had dated her and knew about her anger problem. One of her ex-boyfriends told them she has a short fuse. Mary Joe could hold on to a grudge for years. Even her ex-husband, Laven Lunsman, told investigators that their marriage fell apart because of her affair with Jack. Detectives didn't stop there. They questioned many of her friends. They said she had a jealous streak, especially when it came to Jack. Some said she didn't like other women being around him, that she wanted his attention all to herself. Despite how long they'd been involved, Jack always seemed to be closer to Ivonne, and that, they believed, was something Mary Joe couldn't stand.
And do you continue that business relationship with Jack, but you don't get involved with him romantically?
Not romantically, but
Yeah.
for years we still stayed friends.
Yep.
And I do remember the one time when he got sick, he called me, because I was working at my daughter's. Oh my God, that would be years after, maybe even. And I didn't even recognize his voice on the phone. And he said, when you come back, can you stop over and bring me some crutches? And I thought, what in the world? So I went over, and he was really sick. I took him to emergency.
That detail caught the investigators' attention. Even after Ivonne's death, she was still closely involved in Jack's life, close enough to be there when he needed her. Back in 1985, police also interviewed Jack's new girlfriend, Linda. She told them she'd started getting strange, threatening phone calls. One caller warned her to stay away from Jack if she knew what was good for her. Fearing for her safety, she broke things off with Jack. It worked. Jack drifted back to Mary Joe. Despite all the witness statements and circumstantial evidence, the case was too weak to bring to trial. So, Ivonne's murder went cold, untouched, for 37 years. And now, Mary Joe still remembers her interactions with him vividly.
Because he was down and out about 3 months. He had something with his blood. I can't remember what it was, but I know I did all the chores and stuff.
In 2021, investigators from Polk County decided to take another look. By then, Jack had passed away, but the detectives believed people might be more willing to talk after so many years. They reopened the files, tracked down old witnesses, and followed up on leads that had been forgotten. They talked to Mary Joe's daughter, Brenda.
Well, one of the guns that, well, actually two, I think. Two of the guns that are missing were .22 revolvers, and Ivonne was killed with a .22 revolver.
I don't know.
Brenda couldn't help them. During their investigation, they found something small but strange. In the evidence pile, they found a scrap of paper recovered from Ivonne's purse back in 1985. Written on it was a license plate number, the words "Touch of Class," and the initials MJL, Mary Joe Lunsman. When they brought this up with Ivonne's daughter, Julie, she confirmed it was her mother's handwriting. Investigators then found out that the same phrase, "Touch of Class," was written on Mary Joe's truck in 1985. It wasn't proof, but it was something. A small detail that connected the two women once again. Ivonne was shot 3 times with a .22 caliber gun, once in the neck and twice behind her right ear. Back in 1985, when detectives asked Mary Joe if she owned any firearms, she said she did. She had a .22 caliber pistol and a .22 caliber rifle, both gifts from her boyfriend at the time. But she didn't have the pistol. She gave it to him to sell it way before the murder.
Yesterday when I came in, I said we're investigating a tip with Jim Orr. So I'm going to go into that a little bit, okay? So back reading the police reports, there's a lot of talk about a gun.
Oh, yeah, because I was trying to sell mine. What did I have at the time now? That was it's the .22 pistol I got yet. And Jim was going to try and sell it for me. He knew people.
She explained that she mainly used the gun for protection around her property. But she also said she didn't really know how to handle it. Back in 1985, she'd even needed help unloading it when the cops came to seize all her weapons for testing.
And so, but he gave me his .22 rifle in case I needed it. And because I had rats coming across my, down the road there's a farm, and then he had a garbage dump, which was right on my fence line. And when it got cold, the rats started coming. So I was shooting the rats before they got in my barn.
Oh, okay. All right.
So he had it.
And that was the rifle.
I had the rifle at that time then. He had my gun, the pistol.
Okay.
But something about her story didn't sit right with the investigators.
And you were shooting the rifle at the rats.
Well, I don't know that I ever had to use it. And because some had gotten in the barn one time too, and a skunk I'd have to chase out. But I don't think I ever used it.
Oh, okay.
I mean, it was there if I needed it.
I see.
But I didn't use it. I never had a reason to use it.
Okay.
Her ex-husband, Laven Lunsman, told a very different story. During their marriage, he said they went shooting together often. According to him, she was good with guns. She knew how to load, handle, and shoot them. He described her as a good shot. And those guns she said were gifts from her boyfriend, Laven claimed they were actually his, and that Mary Joe had fought to keep them when they divorced. Then came another twist. After the case was reopened, detectives found out that right after the murder, Mary Joe sold a .22 pistol directly to a woman for $400. Investigators tracked her down in 2024. Turns out she's dead, but her husband Swed is alive and ready to talk.
So apparently somebody got shot somewhere, whatever, triangle thing, right?
Yep.
He was interviewed, and his story didn't match hers at all.
And honestly, we bought that gun. That 22. For $400. My wife bought that gun for $400
From Mary Joe?
from Mary Joe.
Okay.
Swed said he hadn't gotten the pistol before the murder. He'd bought it after Ivonne was killed. Right after. The police, back in 1985, seized all the weapons from everybody related to Mary Joe. Yet they'd never found the gun they were after. Why would they? She sold it off.
So the 22 pistol that's referenced in the reports.
Yeah, Jim had it at his
Jim
place.
had that.
Yeah.
And that was originally yours that you gave to Jim. Am I getting that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I have it back.
I got you. So
Yeah.
that's the gun that eventually came back to you. Did
Yeah.
Jim give it back to you then? Or did
My
Mark-
sister-in-law went and picked up, because they took all my brother's guns, rifles and all. I mean, he did hunting and whatnot. They took all his guns. I think they took anything Jim had. I don't know what else.
But while she spoke as though everything was routine, the detectives had begun piecing together something far from ordinary.
Do you remember what your conversations were with Jim back then when all this talk about guns being submitted to the police department and...
Yeah, we were kind of wondering why they were taking every size and shape they could get a hold of.
Okay. So you did talk to Jim about some of that stuff?
Well, yeah.
Yeah, I would think so, right?
Yeah,
Because
we all
of a sudden-
talked about it, my brother.
Yeah.
And it's like, what in the world? You know, they're taking everything we got.
Yeah,
Any gun of any size and shape for them.
yeah. Because I think Jim had more guns taken from him, or he submitted. I shouldn't say taken.
Yeah, he submitted them.
Right,
So did my brother.
Yeah.
Because my brother had a lot of guns.
Did that ever make Jim mad? Did he ever talk about it, or he
No,
just
I
was
figured,
just
you know, what's the purpose? I mean, we know it's none of these, so why not? I mean, why wouldn't you?
Yeah,
Would be the question.
yeah, right. Okay.
Back in 1985, Yvonne's daughter Julie had seen the shooter wearing a gray coat. When detectives questioned Mary Jo about it, she denied ever owning one. For years, that detail went nowhere. But when the cold case unit reopened the investigation, new interviews began stirring old memories. Someone, after decades of silence, finally decided to talk.
So Jim Moore, there is a tip that was brought forward that I don't even know a timeline. I'll say shortly after Ivonne was killed. Whatever that means.
Yeah.
Right? That you brought some clothes to Jim Moore's house, and either you burned the clothes at Jim Moore's house or Jim Moore burned them for you. I think the tip is not necessarily that specific. But the tip is from someone who we've interviewed and we've vetted pretty thoroughly. So there's a degree of confidence behind the tip, right?
Yeah, yeah. I do not remember anything, but
Okay. Did you ever, what would be the reason for someone to come forward to law enforcement and say that all these years later?
I have no idea.
Okay. Did you at any point go to Jim Moore's house and burn any clothes?
No, I never burned anything. I mean, I was out there on and off, but I
Yeah.
never did anything like that.
Did you ask Jim to burn any clothes for you?
Not that I ever remember.
Okay.
I don't know that it would have, unless there were some old rags or something like that, that it's something to get rid of. But I can't think of anything.
But detectives weren't done. They had already tracked Jim Moore down in California, and his story changed everything.
Because full disclosure, we've talked to Jim. Jim lives in California.
Oh,
So we've talked to Jim, and we have an interview with Jim, and we've confronted him on the same thing. And this is where I'm not going to tell you what, some of the stuff I can't tell you.
oh yeah.
But I will tell you
understand
straightforward that we've talked to Jim
that. Yeah, okay.
about this very tip. So law enforcement has reason to believe that there is some truth to what was told to us.
Jim Moore had confirmed whatever Mary Jo was burning all those years ago, it wasn't just trash.
In addition to, over the years, because we're now in 2023 and we're no longer in 1985, technology has advanced. I mean, anybody who watches Dateline knows
Oh,
that
yeah, yeah.
DNA and fingerprint and touch and trace evidence and fiber evidence is is different now than what it was.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Genealogy, all that stuff.
When officers first examined the crime scene back in 1985, they found a boot print in the snow near Ivonne's body. The word Arctic was stamped clearly into the heel. Investigators took a cast of the print for later testing. Naturally, detectives visited her home back then to inspect her footwear. The pair by the door didn't match the cast, but when she brought all her shoes out, she handed them a pair of snowmobile boots, Arctic Cat brand, size 5. She didn't hesitate to let police take them.
There's some forensic technology that has also aided our case, okay? And it suggests, with a reasonable degree of certainty, that the boot prints in the snow that were found that morning, remember we talked about the Arctic Cat boots?
Yep.
Do you remember the Arctic Cat boots?
I had many pairs of boots.
But the boots that you turned over, do you remember turning those boots over to law enforcement?
I don't remember specifically, no.
Okay, all right.
Then, a rumor started spreading in the small town that those boots went missing from the evidence room.
We were told that they had the boots, is what we were told not long afterwards, that they had found the boots supposedly in Mary Joe's stuff. That the evidence was missing because, no, our understanding was that they were the boots that matched the prints.
Oh, okay.
That were going away from the apartment that day. That was our understanding of what that was. That's what we had been told the boots were.
That's not the case.
Okay.
But they never went missing, and today's testing is far more concrete.
Those boots were submitted to the crime lab, and now with technology being what it is, there's a reasonable degree of certainty that those boots match the boots left in the
Size print or something like that?
Yeah. So, obviously, from an investigator standpoint, that leads us to ask you, if you were at the crime scene, what's the other logical explanation as to why your boot print is in the snow next to the body?
The detectives now believe the physical evidence they have today is very concrete and very damning for Mary Joe.
The probability that this boot is the same boot that left the print is pretty freaking high.
Was the print right there at her place?
Right by the body, and then there was another print that was found down the alleyway, and that is in the same location that we have at least one eyewitness who saw the suspect.
Oh.
That has a very, very consistent physical description of you.
Well, I know they took my long gray coat.
Yeah.
And I seem to think that's what that person had on.
An eyewitness had also come forward back then, saying he saw a woman resembling Mary Joe pacing near the woods that day, right after the gunshot.
And what was odd about it was the timing from having heard when this happened. I mean, I must have been there within a minute or 3.
That eyewitness was tracked down, and he recalled everything again in 2024.
Do you remember seeing her walk?
In my mind, I see her there.
There, meaning in the parking lot.
Yeah.
So not on the sidewalk, along that edge?
That's kind of like where that no parking sign is, the one to the right.
Okay.
He saw a woman coming out of the woods behind the alley.
Right in here.
Okay. And do you remember, was she standing or was she walking?
Walking
this way?
Yeah, that way.
Okay. So she didn't reach the sidewalk when you saw her, she was walking towards the sidewalk.
Yeah.
Is that accurate?
She was walking towards the sidewalk, and it was like she was trying to get to the other side of the street, probably crossing here.
The woman made sure she blended in. Didn't look like she was in a hurry.
She was in a hurry or just nonchalantly walking?
Not wasting time.
What do you mean by that?
Not running, not walking.
Okay.
Fiddle farting around, just she was moving along.
Now, the detectives decided to test how confident Mary Joe really is in her innocence.
One of the best ways that we go about our investigation, because this isn't the first case we work other cases.
Oh, yeah.
You know? One of the best things we do to try to eliminate or support whether or not someone was involved or they weren't involved is we ask them to take a polygraph. Is that something that you would be open to?
I was told before never to do that.
Okay.
And that's why I didn't before either.
Okay. How about now? Is there any? Do you have any thoughts on that? We have an FBI guy who that's literally all he does. He travels everywhere to do polygraphs. He's actually in town.
I don't feel, like I say, because I was told before not to,
Okay.
and by the attorney I had at that time.
Okay. All right. When it comes to eliminating or supporting or excluding people,
But the polygraph isn't always accurate.
She said no, but the detectives didn't drop it immediately. They wanted her to understand there is no downside to a polygraph.
it's not admissible in court, no matter what. The benefit is for someone who passes a polygraph, then that examiner comes to the investigator or investigators and says, yeah, she was being truthful.
Well, the thing is, I've
probably
heard
are
of that
sniffing
though,
up the
that
wrong
people
tree.
can pass them, so they, I mean, that's, I've heard that way too, that they can pass them. So that doesn't eliminate you either.
They made one last attempt, but she had already made up her mind.
If you're willing to do it.
No, I don't feel comfortable
Okay,
with it.
okay.
And like I said, being my attorney said I shouldn't.
Okay.
Before, the one my attorney
Okay.
had.
One of the other things we wanted to do would be, would you submit to giving us your DNA? Because when we look back at the case file, in '85, DNA technology wasn't what it is now, although there's some different things that are in motion that I can't elaborate on. But we don't have your DNA in a sense where someone has collected a buccal swab from you, which is what we would ask to do today. So that would be another part of our investigative process. Would you submit to us collecting?
I'd have to talk to an attorney first before because I don't know enough about this stuff. I would have
Okay.
to actually talk to an attorney,
Okay,
I think.
okay. What is it that concerns you about that?
I don't know, it's just I don't feel comfortable.
Mary Joe already gave a sample a long time ago. Why they want another one now?
You've got it already, that goes it by boots, right?
Yeah, well,
And if they're proved that they're there,
well, your understanding of DNA is probably based on Dateline NBC, and it's different in real life than it is on the movies.
it's on all your clothes and everything.
Can't get into that.
Yeah.
Trust me, DNA is just different than probably what the average person believes is true.
The detectives decided to clarify where she stood in the investigation.
Let's be honest, you're a person of interest,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Right? Anybody who had any type of relationship and or close connection and or connection, 3 layers of possibilities to Ivonne at the time, which there really aren't a lot of people when you break it all down. You're a person of interest, just like other people who are on that same list, right? So we're just doing our due diligence to either include or exclude those individuals.
Then came the part she wasn't expecting. They will take a sample, and she can't say no today.
Yeah, as I say, I want to talk to an attorney and feel safe with whatever they say.
Okay. Because we weren't sure what you're going to say yes or no on that. I mean, we just don't know. We do have a warrant that Steve has, and that's what the designed to do is get a warrant in for your DNA. Because we weren't sure if you would say yes or no. We just have to have that in our back pocket, right? Because I don't want to fly back out to Arizona. So we do have a warrant to get your DNA.
Now, the investigators saw their chance and laid everything out on the table.
There's a lot going on in this case, and we've uncovered a lot in this case, okay? 37 years is a long time, and on one hand, that hinders a case. When you take it over because of the timeline, people's memories fade, people die. But on the other hand, technology gets better, okay, than it was back in '85. And some people actually come forward and say, you know what, I didn't tell you this back then because I was scared, because I knew the people involved, whatever. I mean, insert whatever excuse, the reason why they didn't tell us back then. Well, now they've come forward with some information that they didn't come with back then. All of those things that are going on, remember I've talked to Jim Moore, or we've talked to Jim Moore, right? Statements that have come forward that we've since learned, since we opened up this case. The DNA technology, all of that stuff. The district attorney's office is ready to file charges against you for homicide, okay?
It was this moment the case had been building toward, where the past crashed into the present. The interview was wrapped up, and she was escorted out for DNA swab. It took the DA's office almost a year to build a case against her. Old files were reviewed, and forensic evidence confirmed. On November 13th, 2023, they were finally ready to charge her.
Sheriff's Office. Mary Joe?
Yeah.
Hey, this is Sergeant Fax. Do you remember me?
Well,
Oh, do you mind if I talk to you for a minute?
yeah, what did you want?
I just need to can you step out here for a second?
Yeah, I've got my pajamas on.
Hey, Mary Joe. Do you remember me? I'm Andrew.
From
We
Wisconsin?
were here last year.
Don't know if I do or not.
Okay, that's okay. I'm not very memorable, so that's okay.
She didn't recognize them, but that didn't matter anymore.
Well, we have a warrant for your arrest. Okay? So we're going to have to end up arresting you, and we're going to take you down to the jail today, okay?
I got some appointments. I suppose I got.
You're not going to make those appointments, unfortunately. I'm
I know.
sorry.
I got to call my daughter then and let her know. She's right down the street.
We can make that arrangements for you, absolutely.
The detective then looks at her phone in her hand and takes it away.
But
me
we're
see this
going to
real
have
quick.
to make that call, so we can't have you make
We have
that
a
call.
search warrant for your house, and this is included in the search warrant, so we're going to secure this as well, okay? That's my rating.
Oh, I thought mine was.
Yeah, that's fine. So this detective right here, she's going to place you in handcuffs and she's going to search you, okay? So you are under arrest. If you can just step down. Thank you, ma'am. Be careful.
Can I sit on something higher? My back.
Well, let her do what she needs to do first.
Yes, I'm gonna cuff you in front, okay?
At 81 years old, she faced a sudden change in her life.
So there's going to be a unit that comes over. They're going to transport you down to the jail down in Phoenix, okay? Detective Shamas is going to go with you down there. She's going to make sure you get booked in, okay? You'll see the judge within 24 hours, all right? And then you're going to go through what's called the extradition process.
By December 2023, Mary Joe was extradited from Arizona and was held on a $300,000 bond.
Yes, I looked into an attorney before, and it's $25,000,
I
and I
believe
don't
you.
have $25,000.
I believe you.
Her time as a free citizen was over.
All right, man, you ready to go?
Yeah.
The ride is here.
Somebody help me.
Yep. Can I help you up?
Oh, give me my shirt, though. You don't have to see what, like, the handcuffs on, okay? Okay.
Mary Joe sat in the county jail for 6 months, waiting for her day in court. The trial opened on May 20th, 2024. Over the course of the trial, more than 30 people took the stand, each one adding pieces to the puzzle. When the jury finally deliberated, the verdict came down in June 2024. Mary Joe Bailey was found guilty. On July 2nd, 2024, she was sentenced to life in prison. She could apply for parole at the age of 100 years. Mary Joe never admitted to the crime. Justice took its time, but the truth didn't disappear. In the end, a boot print in the snow, a long-forgotten pistol, and the persistence of investigators were enough to close a case that haunted a community for nearly 40 years. Thanks for following this case from start to finish. If you want to explore more, hit subscribe and turn on notifications. Every case has a story, and we're here to tell it.